I'm Holly Michael, editor and publisher of the Twin Creek Times. And in honor of our 25th week of publishing, I'm going to run very quickly through the top 25 stories in the Twin Creek Times. And again, that goes all the way back to our first issue, which was in January, although those stories have been around longer and had more time for people to click on them. But there are several recent stories that have made this top list. So it's interesting. Some of the stories that have multiple parts I've sort of grouped together. I'm not going to show every single one of them on the screen, but I'm going to click through these and you can see some of the top stories. So easily the top story is this particular one about the Farmersville land sale and some of the quotes from different board members, especially Tim Rudd. And I think that this struck a nerve with people, and this was something of great interest, especially as at the time of this original writing, the building was still standing in February. But there are 5 stories either about the land deal or the demolition that are in the top 15. So 5 of the top 15 stories are on this subject. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but I did think that that was really interesting to note. The second biggest story is this Farmersville dissolution. And there was a follow-up story where the mayor clarified some of his statements, and that is also in the top 20, that story. The next story is a very recent one, and this is about Tony Houston being accused of possessing unregistered firearms in his Windcliff apartment. And I attended his hearing at the federal building downtown and learned that he is being assessed for mental health issues. And I've been checking on updates for that, nothing lately. Okay, so the next story, so now this is about number 6. This story from March about this building in Farmersville being sold has remained a top contender even earlier when I did a ranking. And it's certainly something that people are interested in. There has been no update on what's going to happen with this building aside from the Farmersville Cafe staying open. There's no tenant in that medical center that you see on the right. So another big story, this is number 8 of 25, is Rudd resigning from the Board of Education. This was a huge story. This was something where a lot of people clicked on the story and not many people commented in social media. And I think as we've seen follow-up stories, I can understand because some of the comments that came back to people who voiced anything other than adoration and positivity toward Mr. Rudd were met with derision from him and follow-up comments. So I can see how some people just refrained from joining that conversation online. The next big story was Dollar General thinking about coming to Farmersville. So that was number 9. And to round out sort of the top 10 stories that we've had so far, this is the gravel pit operator and the lawsuit in German Township against SRM Materials, SRM wanting to expand their operations, and German Township trying to use Board of Zoning to prevent some of that. And that went all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court, and German Township did lose that. So getting into our next 20, our recent story just from May on Miss USA was number 11. And then our story all the way back from January on LifeWise coming to Valley View was number 12. Back to a recent story, Pastor J. Todd Smith serving as a chaplain in the Ohio National Guard, and I believe he continues to be deployed and is staying out there and won't be home for a while. So number 15 is former coach Dennis Good, writing the history of Valley View football. I know that he is working to complete that book, and we'll have that news when it is available. There's a new director of the Germantown Library, and this is just from June 17th. So this is the newest story to make this top 25 at number 16. And congratulations to Ashley at the library on her promotion. So there's a couple stories here of history that made this top 25, and this is one of the big ones, the consolidation of Farmersville and Germantown to create Valley View. And I think it was great to sort of dig into that, see how it was portrayed in publications back then, and to see what people remembered about it now. So this story about Farmersville council members has remained a top story, even as we have looked, back before, and also since we've had a lot of stories since then. But coming in at number 17 is Farmersville appointing new council members. And then coming in at 19 is the primary election results. So with Rodney Creech winning District 40 and levies passing in Jackson Township. This is from May. So number 20 is a very recent story about the speed limit change on Farmersville Germantown Pike as you come into Germantown and exit, and that speed change there at Ron Heights going from 35 to 25. State budget funding local projects is also another great story, and a very recent one to make it into the top 25 of all stories. Jim Ayersman retiring after 55 years as a barber, and that story from a township trustee and a well-known family in the community comes in at 22. So our 24th story is the winter storm that we had in January, and we had a fun little side note in there about sort of the before and after that we saw as the pictures that I took, and also then the gentleman who was undertaking some dangerous activity not endorsed by the Twin Creek Times of skiing down the dam. And then our number 25 of the top 25 since January is the Spartan feature of Cosette Gunter Stratton, who is working in news production in Cincinnati. So thanks for watching, and we'll continue to hopefully put out popular stories and bring you information that you both need to read and want to read. And have a great day.